Okay, so that is it for tonight. If you want to stay tuned, I'll quickly review what we just talked about so you can stay tuned and hear a little bit more. Try to help it sink in a little bit better and learn those motions. But if not, you are free to go and do whatever you would need to do. But our 4 new words, okay, they are transmit, absorb, reflection, and refraction. Okay, and they can get kind of tricky, so you want to make sure you memorize them and think about those examples we talk about and the properties that those materials do have. Okay, so when we talk about transmit, okay, it's got to be something that's transparent, something that's going to let that light go through and stay in a straight line. Meaning when it goes on the other side of that surface, it doesn't really change how it looks. You just see it as it is, like Izzy's terrarium or the glass window in our classroom. The light simply passes through, you can see what's on the other side, and it looks totally normal. On the other hand, we talked about absorbed, and absorbed is when it hits that surface, hits that object, and it's taken in. Okay, it doesn't change how it looks, it doesn't pass through it, it is simply taken in by that object, such as that cardboard, your clothing. It's just taking the light in. And then we had reflection. Okay, reflection is just anywhere you can see yourself, basically, because the light hits the surface and then bounces back. One thing you need to know is it depends on the angle. It doesn't always hit the surface and come straight back like in a mirror. If you'll test this tomorrow in class, but if you hold it here as opposed to here, it's going to change the way it bounces off. So reflection always depends on the angle at which the light hits the surface. But a lot of people only think about a mirror and forget about things like a lake. Like, have you ever been to the lake and you can even see like the trees look like they're in the lake? You can see the reflection of the trees in the lake, and that's because the light's coming from the sun, hitting the water and bouncing off. So you have it even outside in nature all the time, not just in mirrors and metal spoons. But the thing we need to make sure we remember about reflection is that it hits that surface and it bounces off. And then our last word we talked about was refract. And refract, first thing it has to do is it has to pass through, but it's not like transmit. Transmit, it just keeps going in a straight line. In refraction, when it passes through, it's going through a new medium and it's going to bend. Okay, so the light passes through, and then after it passes through that material, it's going to bend. Okay, so you have to have objects that are clear and transparent, just like you did for transmission. However, you have to be careful with transmit and refract, because transmit, it just goes in a straight line, but with refraction, it goes through and it bends it, changing its appearance. Okay, remember when you had Izzy's terrarium, you still had glass, you still had clear, it was still transparent, but it just went through in a straight line, and you could see Izzy totally the same as if you would if he wasn't, or she wasn't in there. Okay, but what if I have something that refracts, like this magnifying glass? If you can actually see it on the screen, I think it's making the little bit of the poster look different, isn't it? Okay, so it's not just passing through. When it passes through this material, it bends, and when it bends, the light changes direction, changing how the object looks, or whatever you're looking at looks. Like this poster, those lines are looking a lot bigger now because of this lens. Okay, so things that refract typically have lenses, and again, they're going to change the appearance of that object. Okay, so let's review our 4 words. So transmit, it goes through in a straight line. Absorb, hits the object, is taken in. Reflect, hits the surface, bounces off. And refraction, passes through a surface and bends. Okay, so we will see all those words in action tomorrow. Thank you for staying tuned a little bit longer, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful night.